His visit comes 2 years after around 17,000 Indian students were safely evacuated amidst the Russia-Ukraine war under his leadership. Watch Airlift, the story of how the evacuations unfolded, only on the News9 Plus app.
This and more. Streaming on News9 Plus. News is now content. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Hello and welcome. You are watching In Your Interest here on News9 Live. I am Krishna Kumar. These are our headlines. The Indian stock market is reeling, with the Sensex plunging over 4,100 points in just 5 trading sessions, leaving a massive 16 lakh crore rupee hole in the pockets of investors on Dalal Street. The recent crash has been triggered by the dual impact of the Iran-Israel conflict and China's stimulus package, which has unleashed a wave of selling pressure. In Thursday's session alone, Sensex dropped by nearly 1,800 points. Meanwhile, Nifty is struggling to maintain its key footing at the key support level of 25,000. Led by the Chinese government's measures to revive markets and economy, mutual funds investing in China have begun to look more attractive and have given an average returns of 21% in just a week. Chinese initiatives like fiscal stimulus packages, interest rate cuts and targeted sector support have lifted market sentiment, driving robust fund performance. India's services sector grows at its slowest pace in 10 months in the month of September due to cost pressures and as domestic firms see a subdued rise in international orders. The HSBC India Services Purchasing Managers Index, compiled by S&P Global, fell to 57.7 in September from 60.9 in August, 60.3 in July and 60.5 in June. Singapore's state-owned investment company Temasek Holdings is in discussions to acquire a minority stake in India's Haldiram snacks, with reports indicating that this deal could value India's largest snack maker at approximately $11 billion. Temasek Holdings is reportedly looking to buy anywhere between 10 to 15% of stake in Haldiram. This investment may pave the way for a potential IPO for the company in the future. SpiceJet deposits 10 months' worth of Provident Fund dues days after clearing all its GST payments and settling all salary arrears for its employees. This comes after the airline last month raised 3,000 crore rupees through a QIP, or a qualified institutional placement. The QIP attracted a diverse range of institutional investors and funds, including Goldman Sachs Singapore, Morgan Stanley Asia, Tata Mutual Fund and Discovery Global Opportunity. The Indian government will soon invite bids for 10 gigawatts of battery energy storage projects. The move will strengthen India's position in the energy storage space, which is at a nascent stage at the moment. The European Union votes to impose tariffs of up to 45% on electric vehicles from China, a move that is set to intensify trade negotiations. Though the tariffs did not get support from most of the EU states, it was not enough to block the measure. 10 member states, including France, Italy and Poland, supported the tariffs of up to 35.5% on top of the existing 10% duties, citing European diplomats. Only 5 countries, including Germany and Hungary, voted against the tariffs, while 12 abstained. Apple is gearing up to open 4 more Apple stores in India as the tech giant strategically increases its investments in the country, driven by the growing demand for its products. After launching its first 2 stores in Delhi and Mumbai in April last year, Apple is now setting its sights on Bengaluru, Pune and the Delhi NCR for the next phase of its retail expansion. There's even talk of adding another outlet in Mumbai, highlighting Apple's commitment to tap into India's booming market. And Bigg Boss OTT winner Elvish Yadav and comedian Bharti Singh have reportedly been summoned by the Delhi police in an alleged app-based scam involving a fraud of over 500 crore rupees. The summons were issued after cops received over 500 complaints that many influencers and YouTubers promoted the Highbox mobile app on their pages and lured people into investing through the app. On this edition of In Your Interest, we're putting the focus on the crisis that's brewing in India's aviation sector. If you're one of those who've recently had one of your flights cancelled, delayed and faced tons of troubles at the airport taking a flight out, then this is definitely for you. Indian aviation seems to be in a crisis mode. Airlines are grappling with flight cancellations, crew shortages and rising passenger complaints about poor service. The sector is facing huge amounts of criticism due to escalating operational costs, pilot shortages, limited infrastructure and a tight cost efficiency model, adding to the pressure of both the airlines and the consumers. Most leading airlines in India are operating under severe stress, frequently resulting in abrupt flight cancellations, unannounced delays and compromised customer service. The so-called low-cost model, which dominates the Indian aviation market, leaves airlines with minimal backup crew and aircraft. This means a pilot's absence or a delay on one route can trigger a domino effect, leading to widespread disruptions across the board. Just a couple of days ago, an IndiGo flight from Pune to Bengaluru faced a 5-hour delay after the pilot declined to operate the flight, reportedly citing that his duty hours had ended. The flight, which was scheduled to take off at 12:45 a.m. from Pune, finally departed at 5:44 a.m. and landed in Bengaluru at around 6:50 a.m. In another incident, passengers on board an Air India Express flight from Kerala's Thiruvananthapuram to Muscat in Oman were deboarded after smoke was detected on the aircraft shortly before takeoff. As India remains the world's fastest growing aviation market, the question now is, what will the sector do to recover from this crisis? And to answer that, we have some very special guests now joining us on the show. We have Mr. Parvez Damania, aviation expert and one of the earliest players in India's aviation space, joining us. Parvez, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us. Man, you've been in Indian aviation since the 1990s. I mean, from Damania Airways, you've seen everything, Kingfisher. You've been the executive director of Kingfisher Airlines. You've seen that crisis. But look at the crisis we're facing right now. Technically, we have more airlines right now operating. We have more aircraft operating now than ever before. But the fact of the matter is that we have more people taken to the skies than ever before and more issues being reported. Now these days, an airline cancellation or a smoke coming out, these seems to be daily occurrences that we come across on social media. Parvez, what is going wrong over here?
First of all, Krishna Kumar, thank you for inviting me to your show. I greatly appreciate it. Major problem is only one. The growth of India in the aviation scene is very, very fast. The infrastructure available, the number of manpower available cannot keep up with the growth. Today, it's not possible, even if you spend any amount of money, to produce large number of commanders. It's a process that has to be followed. And it takes years for a pilot to become a commander. So yes, with the way the aircrafts are being inducted and the way the Indian aviation growth story is going on, these problems are here to stay. They will not vanish away. Other being that even the government did not expect this kind of growth in the industry. But infrastructure cannot keep up with the pace of. It's like if you build a house to accommodate 40 people, suddenly you put 80 people, there are going to be shortages, there are going to be problems. Luckily for us and for the country, the Navi Mumbai, the new Mumbai airport is very fast. It's line. Very soon the new Noida airport trials are going to start. These the congestion, very heavy congestion in Mumbai and Delhi will definitely reduce tremendously when these two huge airports, which they are going to come into play very fast. Government is doing everything possible to increase the infrastructure in new airports, having more skills. But unfortunately, so tomorrow if IndiGo decides to induct one plane every week, the government cannot induct that kind of, or cannot speed up that kind of infrastructure. These problems are all related to the unbelievable growth of the aviation industry. For a minute, I don't believe that the airlines are doing anything deliberately or making mistakes which could be avoided. I'm sure the airlines are doing the level best. Nobody likes unhappy passengers. Have to accept reality that today the success of the airlines are because of the unbelievable support the passengers are giving. Today, if passengers had not given this kind of support, there would have been no growth. The only unfortunate part is that there is not the story of the low cost is sort of coming to an end. There is no real low cost. The airlines are no frills, yes, but low cost is not. The ticket price keep going up as the demand goes up. So that is a sad thing that the low cost story has ended, but the no frill story has remained. We have to buy everything on the airline. So we have become a no frill airline country, not a low cost airline. Luckily, we are seeing, I just saw a new show, SpiceJet is also improving its efficiency, planning to get more aircraft. They've cleared the Provident Fund dues. They're shaping up, which is very important. You cannot have just two airlines in the country because then there'll be, the passengers will have to keep, you see, today what option do I have? If I want to go to Mumbai to Delhi, I have to either take the Vistara Air India, which is now one company, or IndiGo. What are the third option? The delay, cancellation, I have to wait for it. So the more the competition will come up, more better deal the consumer will get, and the better it will be for the entire country. So let us hope SpiceJet buckles up, improves its performance, inducts more aircraft that they've assured that they will induct. I read that there's some new airline called Shankar also, which is going to come. I read one more airline. So I think more players should come in the market. One is to very clearly remember that it's a very tough business to be in. I've been part of Damani Airways, I was very much part of Air Sahara, very much part of Kingfisher Airlines. These are all good airlines. Nobody deliberately messes it up. But one is to remember that in the aviation business, margins are wafer thin. And there is no, it's a very unforgiving business. So you've got to be very, very sharp. I'm very, very hugely impressed with the way IndiGo is, the IndiGo growth story. One of the largest airlines in the world now. And again, we're very lucky. Tata Group has taken up Air India, and I'm sure they will pull up their socks. Unfortunately, I don't understand the decision of their to close down Vistara. It is a great product. I use it all the time. Now they've assured that the Vistara standards will be for Air India. So let us hope Air India Vistara turns out to be a great airline, as the old Air India was, as the present Vistara is. And I'm sure IndiGo will also do its best. So let's hope things will improve. Because of our growth, we'll have to suffer a little inconvenience because I'm also a consumer. I also go through, but relatively, because if you see the number of flights that go on time compared to the flights that get delayed or cancelled, it's always going to happen. It's not, it'll never, ever, ever happen that a flight will never get delayed. It'll never, ever happen that a flight will never get cancelled. But percentage-wise, it has to be brought to a minimum. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, fair enough. Parvez, as we speak, we're running these visuals of that flight from Pune to Bengaluru, where a pilot just turned around and said, my duty hours are over, okay, and I'm not going to fly this particular plane anymore. Because of which, for 5 hours, that flight did not take off. Parvez, imagine any of us being stuck in a situation like that, inside an aircraft where a pilot refuses to fly the plane. I mean, that's something fundamental. That points to a fundamental flaw in terms of rostering.
Mistakes was occurred because of rostering, or I don't know what mistakes was occurred. But a pilot definitely cannot go beyond this flight duty time limitation because his license would get suspended. I don't think any pilot deliberately enjoys giving passengers a rough time. if genuinely flight duty time limitations are crossed, then there is no option. I have been on many years ago, on a flight that was going from London to Paris, Paris to Delhi, Delhi to Bombay, the Air India 20, 25 years ago, and the flight duty time limit expired. I was stranded in Paris. So what I'm trying to say is these issues will happen.
Okay.
It'll never not ever happen. But we've got to see, the airlines have got to see that these are kept to the absolutely bare minimum. That's all I'm saying.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We will. I have more things to ask you, but for now we have Ameya Joshi, aviation expert, also joining us. Ameya, thank you so much for being with us. I'm going to begin by asking you a very simple question: why so many cancellations, delays in flights? This seems to be happening on almost on a daily basis. What do you think is the problem over here?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on the show. No, you're absolutely right when you say as a passenger, you're facing more delays than what you did pre-pandemic. Definitely the industry recovered 2023 itself. So what's happening? Essentially, the airports have not grown and we have more passengers being handled in the same space. Couple that with delays on the air side, which means runways being same, capacity hardly gone up, that's leading to cascading delays. So one flight gets delayed at one of the major airports, it has a cascading effect across the network of the airline. And no, you may probably not be affected by weather at some other metro or a small city, but you're impacted because there was a delay somewhere in the network in the morning. So as an average, the way it looks like about 25% of metro flights are delayed across the major airlines right now, which is a substantial number.
Okay, it is a substantial number. If I were to ask you quickly, Ameya, do you think there's a fundamental problem of a lack of discipline amongst the Indian airlines? Be it the time they take off, they land, or even the food that's served on board, or the quality of convenience. They charge a convenience fee as part of the ticket, but how much convenience do passengers get when they reach the airport?
I mean, that's the feeling that everybody is getting right now. But to be very honest, no airline is willingly trying to delay flights. No airline in the world likes to do it. It's the circumstances with one thing leading to another, in our fairness with the airlines. However, as the Air India group or the Tata group of airlines go through mergers, on that side, certain hiccups are pretty much expected because that's duplication of systems. You're trying to get the systems to one, you're trying to get the ground staff as one, the pilots, crew, everything as one. At the same time, on IndiGo, which is what 60% or more than 60% of the market, has grown exponentially in the last few years, right from the pandemic till now. And to maintain that momentum, even when you have 70 to 80 grounded planes, means that people are stretched at all levels. And in interest of passengers, in interest of shareholders, in interest of airlines themselves, it's very important that they get this act together, and they get this act together quickly, because the ambition for both the large airlines is to actually rule the world, expand. IndiGo is getting the 350s and will go on the wide body side starting 2027 with the XLRs next year. And Air India wants to have multiple functional hubs in the country. This year and possibly the next is only time when things need to be get together. Otherwise, it's not going to be a very happy dream for the airlines.
All right, so this year is going to be crucial. Parvez, that's the point I'm trying to arrive at. Pre-pandemic, we've crossed the pre-pandemic levels when it comes to people taking to the skies. We have more aircraft and more airports today than pre-pandemic levels, and yet the first thing on the mind of everybody is everything all right with India's airlines? My question to you is that, is this a problem of India's aviation market becoming a duopoly?
Yeah, that is an issue that we can't solve. Now, if there are only two airlines left in the game, then we can't do anything. But first of all, I don't think government should control the price, because it's an open economy and it's a free market economy. But at the same time, I hope the airlines never forget that the success is because of the support of the passengers. So the prices should be self-governed, because it's a duopoly now. And it's quite sad we don't have any option. There are not 5-6 airlines that we can go and select which airline the cheapest or which is the best. So we have to go by these two airlines. So I hope prices remain under control, prices remain under check, and the consumer is never taken for granted. Let's hope that the airlines realize that consumer is always king and their support is very important. But at the same time, I personally think the airlines in India are doing an exceptional job.
Okay.
Even the airlines, unfortunately, that closed down were doing very well. I can't go into the detail of what went wrong with the economics, but IndiGo's doing fine. I have no, Vistara was doing very, very fine. My experience with Air India was very limited, but I am sure with the Tata Group and the Tata brand, they will do everything possible to see that brought in shape. But again, I'm telling you, the minute these two airports come up, the Navi Mumbai airport is fully in operation, and the Delhi New Noida airport is fully in operation, there'll be a huge amount of strain less in these two cities, and things will run more efficiently.
Okay, Parvez, where I'm coming from is this. You have a certain number of aircraft that's grounded for IndiGo, SpiceJet and others because of engine issues, specifically speaking the Pratt & Whitney engine issues which has grounded so much of the aircraft. Indian Airlines have placed record number of orders with Boeing and Airbus, but those aircraft are yet to come. There's a clearly, we are right now in a situation of demand outstripping supply by by multiples, not just like a few percentage. So in that sense, there is a problem in terms of number of aircraft that's available to fly Indian passengers. And two, my other big concern is, do we have enough talent, enough trained manpower from pilots to ground staff to cabin crew? Do we have enough?
Well, first and foremost, let me tell you one thing. There is a tremendous shortage of manpower. Yes, the time taken to prepare air hostesses and ground staff and the other staff is not very long, but the shortage of commanders will always remain, and that is going to be a very, very serious problem which is going to hinder the growth of the airlines. Commanders are in shortage all over the world, and they cannot, it's not like air hostess, you select smart girls all over the country, train them in 3 months, they are online. It takes years and years of commander to get a command. So that shortage will remain, and that shortage will come very seriously in the growth of the airlines. Now, there are, previously airlines just closed down, people supposed to go to say IndiGo from Spice to here, but now that's not going to remain. These two are very strong players. They're going to play ball very hard. They're going to be there for the long run. So the chances of finding new commanders, unless you get from abroad, and the cost will be astronomical, and abroad also there's a shortage. So the airlines will have to make stronger program, faster program to see that more and more commanders are produced. And that is a serious problem that will come in the way of the growth of the airline industry, that's for sure. Like infrastructure, but I think infrastructure, the government is very prepared, working very hard, but the manpower at a very senior level will remain an issue. Trained engineers and trained pilots will remain an issue.
Okay, so that needs to be done to tackle this problem going forward. But what about the problems that are being faced right now? Amaya, let me quickly bring this back to you. Do you think there are proper grievance redressal mechanisms in place for airline passengers in the country?
It is fairly robust because we have to look at two sides of the story. Your tickets clearly mention that you have to pay for excess baggage. A lot of complaints also focus on things like, I had just 1 kg extra, it was not accepted. Now, these are the kind of complaints which are, I would consider frivolous and should be taken out of genuine complaints, which is related to not following the civil aviation requirements, not providing snacks, alternative options, or full cancellation and penalty in case of delays and cancellation, right? So we have to look at it in separate manner. Definitely, India needs a robust reporting mechanism, very much on a weekly or a monthly basis, where airlines or the ministry has to come out with data on the number of flights which were delayed and what was done at a flight level. Today, it's it is published at a consolidated level, but somehow you see that the people who are complaining and what is published, there still remains a gap between the cup and the lip. So you don't know exactly which numbers to follow and which numbers to see. But there is a need definitely to have a better and robust reporting system and action being taken on that. Reporting and having numbers is one, but actually taking action, penalizing the airline so that it is not repeated and the customer is satisfied or in a better state is the other part.
All right, Parvez, let me bring this back to you for a last comment from you before we wrap things up. We're completely out of time over here. Parvez, talk to us. What would be your advice to people taking flights, people who are worried, looking at all these stories emerging, what can they do? Because, there needs to be that grievance redressal to be strong for people to have greater faith. Because right now, as you're talking about, how else does one get from Mumbai to Delhi? Trains are not an option because that kind of time we don't have today anymore. So more than customers supporting airlines. Customers don't have a choice but to support airlines.
Our customers do not have a choice. We have to take one of these two airlines. But I can tell you one thing, according to me, the airlines are doing the level best. Nobody is deliberately trying to make life miserable for the passengers. So I think
Right.
Comfortable flight, and there's nothing to worry about.
There is nothing to worry about is a word coming in from a man who has been in Indian aviation for 4 decades now. Parvez Damania, thank you so much for taking time out to be with us and speaking to us. Hope to keep speaking to you again and again, but for now we'll let you go. Thank you so much for talking to us, and thank you Ameya Joshi as well for taking time out to be with us here on this edition of In Your Interest, and thank you all of you for watching. With that, we've completely run out of time here. This is Krishna Kumar signing off.
Let yourself flow with the turn of each tide.
Salty winds, you sweeten your ride.
Maharashtra,
Maharashtra is the hit.
Maharashtra tourism.
How do you fulfill that promise? Because ultimately expectations have to be met. If you look at the political landscape, is it really changing for women? And what is the inability of the forces that dead bodies surface but not the living people?
Cooking is an act of love. The first act of love we receive from our mothers in the families.
Modern Indian food is all about contemporary and innovative approach to traditional Indian cooking.
Representation it's also important,
I want to wear this white coat every day and then be a chef.
There are stories. If the name of whiskey is Indri, then there is a whole story behind that.
Cooking food is like a therapy, and eating one is like a pleasure I can give it to myself. With Lounge Nights, I'm on a journey to celebrate and recognize the best food and nightlife establishments in various cities across India.
Radical presents Lounge Nights every Saturday and Sunday only on News9 Live.
This is News9 Live, India's only digital